Shock, confusion, and uncertainty. There is so much joy in preparing for a child coming into a family. Of course, there are fears, but mostly things turn out okay, don't they? We live in a modern advanced economy with the best medical care, and our friends' children have been okay. We have to put our fears to one side, to the back of our minds, otherwise we would never do anything and miss out on what everyone else experiences. Except we did miss out on what everyone else experiences. And our fears came from where we thought they would stay, in the back of our minds. They're no longer in the back of our minds, but filling our whole headspace. We are left with a total inability to make sense of what has happened to our child and our lives. Our child was so small and so helpless. We felt so small and so helpless to face what we couldn't see, our child's brain, and to face what we could see, the seizures, the crying, and the unknowing stares. It was the uncertainty, and in a way it still is, the uncertainty with a profoundly unwell child, with a brain disorder that is life-limiting and does not have a well-known name, a well-known story of how it will play out, and does not have a well-known treatment. The long journey to try and find a name for what we cannot understand, a diagnosis, a way of talking about it with our family, with our friends, and with our workmates. Why does it have to be so hard, involve so many names, and so real little change about what we can do about it? The name means an answer, doesn't it? A treatment, a group of people of the same problem, the same sort of battle. Sometimes none of these quite work out as neatly and helpfully as we might wish or imagine. Sometimes the hardest part of explaining what is going on with our child is trying to explain it to ourselves. In this series, I will not be giving you an explanation of what is happening in your child. Each child's condition is so very different. Every parent is also different, but there are some things that parents of seriously ill children have in common. I'll be concentrating on what will be happening or has happened to you and in you. Some things we do as parents can make life just a little bit more manageable, and some things will make it almost impossibly hard. There are no easy answers, but there are some basic rules that we can follow. They are not high-tech rules. They are not complicated medical terms. You can be the smartest person in the world or the person who always took longer than everyone else to get what was going on. In the end, when it comes to our own children, it's not about intellect or strength of character or who you know. We're all faced with our limitations, the limitations of life itself and the limits of our little ones and the bodies that they have. I want to suggest just 3 simple rules for you to get through this time. Give time for the bad news to sink in. Don't rush to understand everything straight away. There is a feeling that we must get on top of everything all at once. We may never have encountered something that we cannot get round, get over, or push through. Or we may have, and we may feel this will be another impossible. In either case, don't rush to understand. Give yourself time to let the news sink in and time to slowly assemble the pieces of what this means for you and for the other members of your family. Give yourself time to work out what it means for your little one and what will be their battle and what will be yours. Their battle and our battle as parents are quite different. It takes time to realise that difference. Secondly, listen to the right people. Even when people mean well, they may have very little understanding of what they're talking about. At first, answers given by doctors, even the best doctors, don't seem right. They seem incomplete, unsatisfying and annoying. The doctors seem to hesitate, become vague and reluctant to commit themselves as to what will happen in the long term. They seem unduly pessimistic and make us think of movies where the doctors got it all wrong. Sometimes we doctors do get it wrong, or we just handle it wrongly. We know that what we know is limited. Our predictions sometimes turn out to be wrong, and our treatments fall way short of what it is needed for a child to have a normal life. But there are doctors who have dealt with hundreds, sometimes thousands of children with the cluster of brain illnesses our child has. Paediatric neurologists and their multidisciplinary teams of nurses, psychologists, social workers, occupational therapists and many others have deep and broad training and experience in what can go wrong with children's brains and why and what can be done and not done. We as parents slowly work out who to listen to, who is most reliable, trustworthy, and who does not set us up for disappointment, who gives us what real hope they can at each step of the way. Thirdly, try to work out a plan for today. The past is too hard to make sense of all at once. You will only have the strength and understanding for today, and sometimes just for the next few hours. If we rush to face our children's future, we will be swamped with our helplessness, our powerlessness, and our lack of certainty about every possibility. The future is too heavy to carry all at once. If we try to put together all the pieces of the past, how did we get here? Why has this happened? Who is at fault? What did I do wrong? We'll find ourselves blaming others, blaming ourselves, somehow ashamed and guilty and yet not knowing why. The past must be taken slowly. Why questions are very difficult to answer. Sometimes it's not about blame, but about a sad fact of life, a sad fact of our lives. Taken one day at a time, and sometimes just a morning or an afternoon or a brief exhausted evening at a time, is the best we can do. Let the news sink in. Listen to the right people. Live one day at a time.